Welcome to another episode of Mike's Money Picks. Today on the podcast, the second major of 2025 has arrived as the PGA Championship heads to my home state of North Carolina at Quail Hollow Club just outside of Charlotte. And we're here to break down this golf tournament. We're going to tell you everything you need to know about the 2025 PGA Championship in 30 minutes or less. We're going to talk about Quail Hollow itself. We're going to take a look at some stats and some data. And then we're going to take a look at the board and see if we can identify some strategy and some plays in DFS, betting, and one and done here this week. So no matter what game you're playing this week, no matter what kind of action you're putting down in this PGA Championship, hopefully we're going to help you guys pick out some winners. Now, we did take the week off last week for the Truist Championship because I just had a child be born. My wife gave birth to our son, Aiden, last Saturday. And so, kind of in the transition of things, was able to take Monday off for the Truist Championship, kind of a low load week that week for me. But now with this tournament being back in my home state, with it being at a course that I'm very familiar with, I'm looking forward to breaking down this golf tournament. And we are going to be back for the rest of the PGA Tour season. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. That way you can know when all of our golf content drops. And then as we go through the summer, we're going to have a ton of best ball content for both NFL and college football. And then once we get to the regular season, we're talking college football and college basketball almost on a daily basis. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel that we can be with us for all of that. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into Quail Hollow Club. All right, so let's get the basics out of the way. Quail Hollow Club is a par 71, about 7,600 yards this week, and it is located just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, what makes Quail Hollow unique as a major championship venue is that it hosts a yearly event on the PGA Tour. What was formerly the Wells Fargo Championship, which was formerly the Wachovia Championship, which is now the Truist Championship, has been hosted at Quail Hollow pretty much every year unless there has been a major or a President's Cup hosted here, because there was the 2017 PGA Championship where the Wells Fargo was moved, and then there was the 2022 President's Cup that was here where the Wells Fargo was also moved. So what we have is we have a very actionable set of data points from this golf tournament hosting a tournament on the PGA Tour on a yearly basis that we can use in order to build the best breakdown of this golf club possible, in order to handicap this golf course in the best way possible. Now, I can add a little bit of local knowledge, but not a whole lot, because one of my good friends in college actually worked at Quail Hollow Club. I don't know exactly what his job was. I don't want to describe it as like a cart boy. I think he did a little more than that. But basically what he said was, this is just an absolutely beautiful golf course, and it presents that way on TV. It's not going to come as a shock to anybody that watches this tournament. It's going to present really well. And he also said that the membership is like, not the membership, but the board of directors is like super strict. Like when you play here, you have to wear pants. You cannot have facial hair. You cannot have long hair. Everything must be tucked in. Everything must be prim and proper. They have a reputation to maintain. And that shows itself when golf tournaments are played here, because this is a golf tournament or a golf course that prides itself in just being in prestigious conditions, just everything absolutely pristine, everything looking the part, right? And honestly, this is kind of the club. They're not going to be so snooty about winning score. There's like a lot of memberships of country clubs out there that they want their golf course to play hard. They want the pros to have a tough time. Quail Hollow is not that. Quail Hollow is much more concerned about presenting well and presenting a certain kind of vibe. Now, with that being said, with this tournament hosting a PGA Championship versus a yearly PGA Tour event, it did very much play differently in the 2017 PGA Championship than it does yearly on the PGA Tour. And we're going to break that down here in just a second. But just for a few specifics of the course, this is a very long golf course. This was designed largely by Tom Fazio with a huge redesign in 2017. So really, if you're looking at data from this course, only go back to 2017. And really, the main characteristic of this course is its length. That's bottom line. Like the fairways are not super duper narrow, not super duper wide. It is very much tree line. There's not a whole lot of water, but the key defining characteristic of this golf course is its length. All of the par fours are either around 500 yards or above, or they are drivable par fours, and there are two of those. So like you're going to have really your selection this week of just, you're going to have a ton of par fours where it's just going to be driver and long iron, and then there's the two par fours that are drivable where it's going to be driver and wedge. Also, the greens themselves are quite large. There is quite a lot of undulation. A lot of the modeling of this golf course, they try to present themselves like Augusta National. So you really do see that on the greens with there being a lot of undulation, with the greens being quite a large size. So anyway, what that normally boils down to is that there are three very discernible skills that are going to take you farther at Quail Hollow Club than any other skill you could have in your golf bag. And those three skills are driver play, long iron play, and putting. If you are not above average, or if you're not elite at one of those skills, then I'm not interested this week. you're going to have to like come correct with those three things if you want to win, or you're going to have to absolutely play lights out with one of them and just hope to mask the damage with the other two. And here's why. You have to be elite with the driver here because the golf course is so long. Length is going to be a major, major advantage. It's a huge advantage to have a 7-iron into a par 4 as opposed to a 4-iron or a 5-wood. It just is that much easier to hit and hold the green, and also to give yourself close proximity putts, right? And so being able to have that distance off the tee, being able to knock off distance for your second shot is going to be super vital. And when you look at the winners here, I'm talking Rory McIlroy, I'm talking Wyndham Clark, you're seeing guys that are long off the tee. And so it's no coincidence that a driver play is something that's going to play well here. Now, I do think that this is a course where I'm not just going to totally base it off of driving distance. I am going to look a little bit at driving accuracy because this is a course where accuracy can be advantage. Basically, what ends up happening at a lot of PGA Tour courses, and people don't realize this, but the narrower the fairways get, it actually becomes less of an advantage for accurate players to a certain extent, because basically if no one is hitting the fairway, then even the accurate players aren't going to hit the fairway. But the fairways here are wide enough so that way accurate players are going to be able to hit substantially more fairways, and so they're going to give themselves an advantage that way. So I do think you want to be elite with the driver in either distance or accuracy or a combination of the two, and the best players that fit here are going to be plus in both of those, distance and accuracy. Now, with this course being a long golf course, you're going to have long irons in your hand, right? We already talked about the distribution of the par 4s. On the par 5s, you're going to see a lot of guys going for it in 2, and those are going to be long iron holes as well. The par 3s are all super long. Those are long iron holes as well. You simply have to be able to hit and hold the green with a long iron here this week if you're going to want to have a lot of success. And honestly, early in the forecast, like it's early in the week here, like I live in near Greensboro. So like I'm about an hour and a half from this course. Earlier in the week, it was quite rainy today. And so that's going to make things probably play quite soft here this week at the PGA Tour or at the PGA Championship. And I definitely think that's going to lend an advantage to distance off the tee as well as long iron play, because guys who are good with their long irons are going to be able to have their ball stop on softer greens a little bit more effectively. Now, lastly, you are going to have to be able to putt here. This is not a week to look at team no putt. Again, when you look at the guys who have won here at this tournament, we already mentioned Rory and Wyndham, but how about Jason Day? How about Max Homa? These are guys who are good with the putter in their hands. These are greens that they're undulated enough so that way good putters are going to be able to get a good read on them, and they're probably going to be quite fast as well because they normally do play very firm and fast. Now, my handicap of this tournament this week, I would say that I am much more likely to view this tournament like a regular Wells Fargo Championship as opposed to a regular PGA or the last PGA Championship at Quail Hollow. I misspoke there. I am really much looking at this like a Wells Fargo Championship, just with longer rough. So like there's going to be a better advantage for hitting the fairway. The pins are probably going to be tucked in slightly more difficult locations. But the PGA Championship, what made it so different, what made it so difficult that week when it was played here in August in 2017 when Justin Thomas won, was the fact that the agronomy was completely different than what you're going to see now. It was a full Bermuda golf course, which if you play golf in the Southeast, you're probably familiar with how Bermuda rough can be very difficult to hit out of. Bermuda greens can be very difficult to putt on with the green. And so what ended up happening that week was the golf course was super baked out, super burnt out with Bermuda grass, and everything was playing super firm and super fast in the month of August. Well, because of where we're at in the calendar, that just hasn't happened quite yet. And so what you're seeing this week is you're going to see a full overseed of everything being overseeded with different strains of grass. And so what that's going to end up doing is that is going to end up basically making the golf course a whole lot more predictable. Overseeded rough is a lot easier to play out of than Bermuda rough, and that's going to show up here this week. So I do think you're going to see it very similar to the Wells Fargo Championships, which are also played this time of year. One thing, I'm personally a big fan of Quail Hollow. I like it a lot. It's on one of my top 10 courses year in, year out on the PGA Tour. I think that the way that the finishing holes are set up here are sublime for a PGA Championship, and the PGA Championship itself has given us great finishes over the years. I think this will be another good one. I went back to replay the YouTube video from the finishing stretch of holes, but the last 5 holes here are just like chef's kiss. They're just excellent golf holes, starting with 14, the drivable par 4 with water down the left side, 15, the risk and reward go for it in 2 par 5, and then you've got what is known as the Green Mile, holes 16, 17, and 18, where 16 is a monstrously long par 4, 17 is a peninsular green par 3, and then 18 is a very difficult long par 4 that double crosses a creek. So this is just going to be in my opinion, the PGA Championship has given us the best Sunday rounds of any major over the last few years. I think there's a very high likelihood that you're going to see that again here this year because of the swings that can happen on the green mile down the stretch. Now, as we said, let's go ahead and talk about our key stats. As we said this week, we're looking at three things: driver play, long iron play, and putting. And that's exemplified in my key stats. I'm looking at strokes gained off the tee and total driving, as well as driving distance / ball speed. Those are two other ways to just see who is hitting the ball with their driver really well. And then I do think I want to look at strokes gained approach. I do want to look at proximities 175 yards and up. And I do want to look at strokes gained putting on these POA overseeded greens. It's not pure Bermuda grass, it's overseeded with POA trivialis. Now, in terms of comp courses, there are 3 yearly courses that pop up on the PGA Tour that I think are great comps: Torrey Pines, Riviera, Bay Hill. A lot of crossover winners at those 3 courses. A lot of names pop up at the top of the leaderboards at those 3 courses. There are some more ancillary comps that are kind of not necessarily yearly tour venues or have smaller fields or kind of one-time stops. I do think that you can somewhat comp this place to Augusta National, Memorial Park, East Lake, LACC, the Summit Club, and Congaree. The Summit Club and Congaree being other Tom Fazio designs, and Augusta, Memorial Park, East Lake, and LACC featuring the combination of length and long iron play. But also many of those courses feature short grass around the greens, which is going to be what you see here. This is not a course where there's going to be super thick rough around the greens. A lot of the short game shots are going to come from short grass. All right, that does it for our breakdown of Quail Hollow. Let's go ahead and take a quick breather, and then let's take a look at the rabbit hole. All right, if you've been with us here for a while, you know that when we talk about the rabbit hole, I'm not referring to an actual rabbit hole. I'm talking about the rabbit hole, which is a tool from Betts Perks Golf that allows you to use all different kinds of filters and conditions in order to really look and isolate some micro skills that you might use for a specific golf tournament and to create a custom model off of that. I really think that this is a great way to use the rabbit hole because you can really look at different types of skill sets from different types of golf courses over different time periods. And so what I'm looking at this week on the rabbit hole, here's what went into my custom model. I did look at strokes gained off the tee at just driver heavy courses, last 50 rounds. Who are the best in the field at that? Rory McIlroy, Taylor Pendrith, Minwoo Lee, Jordan Spieth, and Scotty Scheffler. Then when you look at driving distance, which has been a particularly big stat from winning the PGA Championship, as pretty much everybody who wins the PGA Championship this millennium, well, maybe not this millennium, I guess this decade would be a more accurate statement, would be or usually plus drivers of the golf ball. Right, in that category, we've got Marco Penge, who had a very small sample size. I'm not very familiar with him. He came up number 1 for driving distance, followed by Bryson DeChambeau, Rory McIlroy, Byung-Hoon An, and Cameron Young rounding out the top 5. Then I wanted to look at total driving, which takes into account accuracy as well as distance. And the best in the field in that category, we've got Bryson DeChambeau, Tyrrell Hatton, Chris Turk, Tommy Fleetwood, and Corey Connors. Then I want to look at 2 ancillary metrics: apex height and ball speed. I do think it's important to hit a high ball here this week because you're going to be able to hold those greens a little bit better. The best players in the field in terms of apex height: Ricky Fowler, Bryson DeChambeau, Keegan Bradley, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, and Ludwig Oberg. And then when you look at ball speed, which is another way to just generally see who's driving the golf ball really far, you've got Bryson DeChambeau, Minwoo Lee, Marco Penge again, Nicholas Norgard, and John Summers. Now, shifting gears to our long iron play, I wanted to look at recent approach play. Last 30 rounds, who are the best golfers in the field on approach? We've got Sepp Straka, Scotty Scheffler, Colin Morikawa, Sammy Valimaki, and Tom Hoge. Then when you look at approach on long golf courses, which tends to kind of filter out a lot of long irons. That's what tends to end up happening, is this is usually your long iron category. We got Scotty Scheffler, Tom Hoge, Xander Schauffele, Gary Woodland, and Corey Connors. Then when you look at just approach shots from 200 plus yards out, who are the best in the field at that? We've got Johnny Kiefer, not familiar with his game, Patrick Reed, Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, and Martin Keimer as the top 5. Very live heavy top 5 there. Then I want to look at strokes gained putting. This is just strokes gained putting on super fast greens, and the best in the field on that. And even though I do think there's going to be a lot of rain this week, I do think they're going to get these greens super fast. Best in the field in that, we've got Denny McCarthy, Harris English, Max Grazerman, Thomas Dietrich, Jason Day. And then when you look at strokes gained putting on just the POA overseed, we've got a back-to-back champ here, Denny McCarthy, number 1 in the field, followed by Thomas Dietrich, Taylor Pendrith, Christian Bezadenhu, and Tom Hoge. Now, strokes gained total, Quail Hollow only, who are the best in the field at this or just at this golf course. We've got Max Homa, Jason Day, Justin Rose, Ricky Fowler, and Rory McIlroy as your top 5. Strokes gained total on, I believe I did, this is the comp courses. Yes, so that first list of comp courses: Riviera, Torrey Pines, and Bay Hill. Best in the field in that regard: John Rahm, Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler, Max Homa, and Tony Finau. Now, strokes gained total at the ancillary comp courses. Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, John Rahm, and Victor Hovland. And then when you just look at majors the last 5 years, who are the best in the field at that? We've got Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, Collin Morikawa, and Hideki Matsuyama. Now, when you throw all of that into a model, what you ended up with was my number one golfer for the week, Rory McIlroy. It's not entirely shocking. So let's go ahead and get the discussion out of the way now. Let's go ahead and talk about the big three. So there's a very clear big three this week, and I'm not talking about LeBron, Bosch, and Wade. I'm talking about Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler, Bryson DeChambeau. Such a clear big three that are by and large the most likely golfers to win this event. By and large, the best players in the field coming in from a strokes gained perspective, from a finishing perspective, from a last few majors perspective. Like they're buying away the best three players in the field. And in my model, it popped out Rory 1, Scheffler 3, Bryson 4. More on that in a second. But anyway, we talked about the three skills that we're looking for: driver play, long iron play, and putting. McIlroy, Scheffler, and DeChambeau are all elite at all three of those categories. Scheffler's a little bit better at long irons than the other two, a little worse at off the tee play. But they're checking off the boxes for what you want to see here at this place, right? McIlroy has the history here. He also has the history in majors. Bryson, his history here is pretty good, but not as elite as McIlroy's. But he does have a very good major track record and really good driver play coming in. Scheffler actually, ironically, has no history here. He's only played the 2022 President's Cup here, never played the Wells Fargo, and he did not win a match in that President's Cup. It's really weird. Not really what you would expect. So based off that information, in terms of handicapping the big three, and I do think they are a big three, I do think they're buying away the best three players in this field. My model seems to want to rank it Rory, Scotty, Bryson. If I have the live numbers, I think the model would probably like Bryson better than Scotty. Honestly, I think everything points to Scotty being the worst of the big three golfers, which is super interesting because he's the highest priced one on DraftKings. So what I think you're going to end up happening this week is if you're a big Scotty fan, you're going to play Scotty at a lower discounted ownership on DraftKings, because if these three golfers are comparable, Rory, Scotty, and Bryson, why wouldn't you play the two that are cheaper in price? I mean, Rory's a whole $1,200 cheaper than Scotty Scheffler. Like, that can make a huge difference, because that whole $1,200, that is the difference between, let's think of a good example here. That's the difference between Patrick Cantlay and Corey Connors. Maybe I could have done a better example here. That's the difference between Sepp Straka and Harris English. That's a pretty good comparison. So basically, the savings that you get with Rory are going to cause a lot of people to play him. So I think a lot of people are not going to play Scotty this week. And I think when you're looking at from a DraftKings perspective, I think that you're going to see significantly higher ownership to Rory and Bryson as opposed to Scotty. I think they're all three good plays. When I make my lineups, I'm going to have all three of them. I'm probably going to have all three of them above 30%, just because I want to have access to all of them. I want to have one of them in every one of my lineups. And I do think that it's also possible to have Rory Bryson lineups in DFS this week. From an outright betting perspective, my model seems to like Rory, but I've got to bet on Bryson. I think this is a great fit for Bryson. Now, number 2 in my model is Xander Schauffele, which makes a lot of sense because a lot of what my model took into account was long-term form. And in terms of long-term form, Xander is a guy who's finished runner-up here in back-to-back years. He has a great major championship track record, essentially finishes in the top 20 of every major he's played since COVID was a thing. And he's a guy that kind of excels at all the skills we're looking at. He's not super long with the driver like Rory or Bryson, but he's longer than most. He's a good off-the-tee player. He's a great long iron player, and he's a good putter. So Xander, all it boils down to whether or not he can actually kind of recapture the magic he had last year, or if he's going to continue to be 2025 Xander, because 2025 Xander has been good but not great, for being honest. Good but not great. And if he is able to recapture 2024 Xander, he absolutely has the guns to win a major here as well. Now, after those four, the rest of the top 10 of my model: number 5, Tommy Fleetwood. Number 6, Corey Connors. I'm going to be honest, I'm not interested in them. Number 7, Justin Thomas. Number 8, Patrick Cantlay. Here's an interesting one. Number 9, Harris English. Really interesting because he does not excel at driver play. He does not particularly excel at approach play. But Harris English can really putt. And Harris English also is pretty good at the comp courses, pretty good in majors. Not great, but pretty good. I think there's a case to be made that he's one of the better value plays on the board. Justin Thomas, number 10 in my models. That rounds up my Justin Rose is 10th in my models. That rounds out the top 10. Justin Rose is another guy like English, not super excelling in the driving categories, but Rose's track record at the comp courses, Rose's track record in majors has been outstanding. So that's why he ends up there number 10. Now, I'm going to tinker with this model all week long. So if you want to see who makes the final top 10 of my model, head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/MikesMoneyPicks. Every single week, I post my model top 10 as well as my core plays on DraftKings and FanDuel for your DFS lineups. So if you're looking to get access to that with a full write-up every single week, head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/MikesMoneyPicks. And if you want more from me, you can also find me on Twitter at MikesMoneyPicks, and I'm in the Fantasy Corner Discord as well. That one is very DFS focused, but if you're looking for people to talk DFS with for golf, baseball, basketball, and all of the sports, head on into the Fantasy Corner Discord and get in on the discussion. A lot of really good, really smart people in there. All right, let's take a quick breather, and then let's take a look at the board and talk about DFS and bet. All right, so part of what makes me so attracted to the big three this week, particularly in DFS, is the fact that I've kind of been on this working theory that a lot of the tier 2 players on the PGA Tour are not as good as we think they are, and have been largely disappointing over the last year and a half. And so I think that what it makes it more viable is to go with a Scotty, Rory, or Bryson lineups and go with a more balanced build off of that and avoid the bottom of the field. Or the way the salaries are constructed in DFS this week, you can really play a value play and then end up with a super balanced build off of that. Like, there's just ways to get creative in these Scotty, Rory, Bryson lineups and avoid that tier 2 of golfer if you want to. We've already mentioned how I do think that Xander is very interesting this week. I think Ludwig is very interesting this week as well. I think if you were to design a golf club in a lab for Ludwig, I think this would be it. Like, I'm talking long, but accuracy matters. Big, fast greens, which he excels at putting on, and a bunch of long irons in your hand or wedges in your hand. And he's good at both those things. Like, Ludwig's not a very good middle iron player. He's very good at stratified approaches, the close approaches and the long approaches. And by the way, he's also played 5 majors, and he's been in the top 15 3 times. I believe top 15. Let me look up his U.S. Open finish. Yeah, he's been in the top 15 3 times in 5 majors. I think even though the recent form has been quite bad by his standards, I think that we can roll out Ludwig with confidence this week. I think we can roll out Xander with confidence this week. Now, after that, here's where a lot of the guys I think have been disappointments. Colin Morikawa, I'm out on. Not long enough to play here. Jon Rahm, I'm out on. So let's go ahead and have the LIV discussion now. For LIV this week, at the top, I'm playing Bryson and I'm playing Brooks. And at the bottom, I'm playing Reed, I'm playing Puig, and I might get funky and play Dean Burmeister. But other than that, none of the other LIV guys. And it's nothing against LIV. I watch LIV. I enjoy LIV. But I just think that LIV, when you look at what some of these guys do, it doesn't excel for their game. But what I think also is that there's guys on LIV like Jon Rahm, like Dustin Johnson, like Cam Smith, that LIV is clearly not preparing them to play their best ball in majors. And so why would I play them in majors when they're not prepared to play their best ball and they're still priced like they were on the PGA Tour? Not doing it. Now, granted, could they show me something this week? Yeah. Could Rahm show me something this week that would have me back on him at Oakmont, which I think is a great course fit for him? Absolutely. But I'm not on him this week. Could Joaquin Niemann show me something this week? Yeah, but he's probably not going to. Joaquin Niemann has been around on the PGA Tour since about 2018, and he has not finished top 15 in a major once. Ludwig's been around for a year, and Ludwig's done it 3 times. But yet Joaquin Niemann is priced in this tier with Ludwig. Yeah, Joaquin, do it in a major. And I'm not going to be playing him until he does it in a major. Now, the reason why I will go to Brooks is because Brooks's PGA Championship track record is just so good. Like, if you just played Brooks in every single PGA Championship, you'd be fine. Like, honestly, like, that's all you need to do is just play Brooks in the PGA Championships. Like, his record in this golf tournament is incredible. T26 first, T50 fifth, coming off of injury, T2, T29 first, and then 13th back at Quail Hollow in 2017. That's just incredible. And he's been ball striking really well on LIV. I know he missed the cut at the Masters, but he triple bogeyed the final hole. And how much differently would we think about Brooks if he had made the cut and made a backdoor top 10 or top 20 at Augusta, as opposed to him coming in off of a missed cut? Brooks Koepka's game is very much suited for American Major Championships, and I'm going to continue to play him at American Major Championships. Now, Justin Thomas, I'm going to be kind of cautious about this week. I know he looked great at Philly Cricket Club. I know he won at RBC Heritage. I know his history at Wells Fargo is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. But my problem with Justin Thomas is the fact that I think he's going to be A, highly owned. And I think that B, I think that his baseline game in recent years has kind of been pretty much the same. And the putter has been what drives it. I think he's been putting well lately. I don't know if he's necessarily going to continue putting well here this week. I'm out on Victor Hovland this week. He was a mess at Philly Cricket Club. Patrick Cantlay, I think, is super interesting. Cantlay is the type of guy that just shockingly hasn't won a major championship yet. Ironically, he's like the new Xander. Like he's the guy that all the statistics, all the models are going to point to and say this guy should win a major championship, but he hasn't yet. Well, Xander eventually won. He did it last year, right? Patrick Cantlay, great history at the comp courses, pretty good form coming in, particularly on approach. He's been very good on approach pretty much every start this year. It's just been the putter that's let him down, but historically, long-term, Patrick Cantlay is a good putter of the golf ball. So I really do think Cantlay is worth a look this week as well. And that's probably going to be where I'm going to be ending my 9K exposure. I think I'm going to be playing after the big three. I'm going to be playing some Ludwig, playing some Xander, a little bit of JT, just a little bit, and then some Brooks and some Cantlay. And I'm probably done after that because I don't think that this golf course is the right type of park for Spieth, Lowry, or Fleetwood or Haddon. I just don't. Now, in the 8K range, I'm very intrigued by both Minwoo Lee and Wyndham Clark. You think about the archetype of this golf course where it's going to be driver putter dependent. Those are two guys that can really drive it, can really putt it. And their track record in major championships is not bad at all. Wyndham Clark won the U.S. Open at LACC. He won this event at Quail Hollow in 2023. I think that both of them are really good fits this week, and I'm totally cool if people are off of them because they're not going to pop in models because they're not good approach players, but their driver is going to be a huge advantage here this week. I'm also back on Patrick Reed. Patrick Reed is just Mr. Quail Hollow, right? Like you look back at his record at Quail Hollow, and it's really, really good. He was runner-up at the PGA Championship in 2017, T6 in his last appearance. And you think about these golf courses that Patrick Reed has been playing at, right? He's really good with his long irons, and he's also a really good putter. He's not necessarily the off-the-tee player that a Bryson or a Rory is, but he's got the check boxes for off the tee and for for long irons and for putting, and that is enough for me to get Patrick Reed into my lineups. Heading down from there, if you play on FanDuel, check the price on Maverick McNeely. It's something, but I do think he's a guy that actually fits what I'm looking for quite well this week also because he's a really good putter of the golf ball. He's starting to play better golf. It was a little bit of a disappointment at Philly Cricket Club, but he's starting to play better golf and he's starting to get better off the tee as well. I kind of think Maverick's a sneaky play, especially on FanDuel. Go look at that price tag if you don't know what I'm talking about. Now, Sam Burns is another guy that I'm going to be on. He fits the Wyndham Clark, Minwoo Lee mold of driver putter guy, right? Like his approach play has been truly awful, and that is going to have people off of him. But it's the type of golf tournament where your approach play can actually hide. And if you're really good with the driver and really good with the putter, which he is, then this could be a really good Sam Burns golf course. Now, after that, I am forever fans of Robert McIntyre and Tony Finau. I'm going to play them regardless, especially at major championships, because I think they both have the type of game that's cut out for a major championship. I think they're both good off the tee players. I think they're both good long iron players, but they can't putt. Finau's an awful putter. McIntyre is usually a good putter, but he hasn't been able to putt this year. But like, just they're type of guys that at major championships, I'm going to play just because I think that their game suits major championships. And I feel the same way about two younger guys, Akshay Bhatia and Davis Thompson. I think you're going to see both of these guys win a major championship before their career is over. And so in that 7K range, there's that little group that I'm going to be playing a lot of, McIntyre, Finau, Bhatia, and Thompson, just because I think their game really suits major championships. Now, if you really want to get freaky this week, Cameron Young at 7,100. Cameron Young is a guy that tends to play well at American majors. He's just totally lost right now, though. But he's been lost and just randomly found form at major championships before. Nobody's going to play him. I think he's a really sneaky high upside play. I really like Thomas Dietrich at 7,000 as well on DraftKings. Also, every year at the PGA Championship, there's a long shot bet that comes close to winning but doesn't win. Last year, it was Thomas Dietrich, right? I think it would be Dietrich again. So if you're looking to bet outright, and I don't think this is the week to bet long shot outrights without an each way bet or without a top 5 or a top 10 attached to it, because I think that it's quite likely that no matter who you bet, no matter how well they play, they could just be outdone by a Scotty, a Bryson, or a Rory. So I think Dietrich is the type of guy that I would be looking to target with an each way bet where I could get paid out if he finishes in the top 5 or in the top 8, because Dietrich is the type of guy that he's going to drive the ball really, really well. and he's pretty good at long golf courses. And honestly, too, this is kind of a corollary. The Waste Management Phoenix Open, that golf tournament that he won this year, tends to lend itself to the guys that win that golf tournament tend to end up winning a lot of major championships. I don't know why, but it just happens. And he's also a really good putter of the golf ball. So I really do like Thomas Dietrich this week at 7,000. Looking further down the board, Dean Burmeister, he was chalk last year at the PGA Championship because he's just so long off the tee and such a good ball striker. I think he could very well be chalk again. I'm going to have him in some of my lineups, though. He was T14 last year at the PGA Championship. It's not bad at all. We already mentioned my affinity for Harris English, but I do want to go ahead and talk about there's a trio of guys right next to Harris English that could all win this golf tournament off of one skill, and they're all different skills. Taylor Pendrith, absolutely elite driver, elite ball striker. Aaron Rai, elite long iron player. Danny McCarthy, elite putter. Those three guys all have one marketable skill that could allow them to win this golf tournament. And for that reason, all three of them will find their way into my DFS lineups here this week. Now, at 6,500, I mentioned this guy earlier, David Puge. I think he's very much in the Minwoo Lee mold, the Wyndham Clark mold, the Sam Burns mold of driver putter kind of guy. And he's playing really well on LIV. He's playing better than some of the LIV guys that he's priced behind, like Dustin Johnson, like Cam Smith. I love David Puge this week. He's a guy that it's going to be in my lineups as well. After that, it gets quite ugly. I do think at $6,200 on DraftKings, there's three guys that are playable. Keith Mitchell, great first-round player, great first-round leader bet. Kurt Kitayama, great performances at some of the comp courses. And Bud Cauley playing great golf right now. Like, I think all three of those guys are in play for various reasons. I think they're I don't know if I can guarantee it, but I think they're going to all make my player pool. Keith Mitchell tends to show up well at whatever golf courses Rory McIlroy plays well at for whatever reason. And Rory McIlroy owns this place. So, well, not literally, but figuratively. And so I do think that this is a great Keith Mitchell course. And like I said, Kitayama's great at the comp courses. Cauley's got great form coming in. Now, the 5K range on DraftKings this week made an appearance, and it would totally make playing two guys up top super viable. Tom Hoagie, the approach king of the 5K range, is always going to be in play for me. Sam Stevens is Mr. Long Courses. Sam Stevens is probably going to be one of my favorite plays in the 5K range. One of the most popular plays in the 5K range, though, is going to be Gary Woodland, who is coming in with really good approach form, played pretty decent at the Philly Cricket Club, and has really good history at this golf course. Has 3 top 10 finishes in his last 5 appearances at Quail Hollow. I think that's really good for Gary Woodland. I think that he absolutely could get hot with the putter. He played well at Memorial Park off of a hot putter. I think this is a really good spot for him, and I think he's probably going to be the most popular play on DraftKings in the 5K range. So I'd definitely be looking to make my lineup different elsewhere if I'm playing Gary Woodland, but I do think this is a really good spot for him. After that, the 5K range is quite ugly. Mackenzie Hughes is a guy that was first-round leader at Myrtle Beach last week and could absolutely win this event off of his putter. That's the type of thing he does. Then let's go ahead and then Max Grazerman, I got to mention as well. Another driver putter guy. I'm kind of in with him with his skill set. But we got to talk about pricing. Michael Block is $5,500. You remember Michael Block, right? From the PGA Championship, where he was a great story, right? Y'all, this pricing is just egregious. Like, he's priced on the same level as legitimate PGA Tour players that are super talented, like Sami Valimaki and Ryo Hisatsune. He's priced the same as PGA Tour winners, Jonathan Vegas, and priced above PGA Tour winners Joe Highsmith and Eric Higo, priced above elite driver of the golf ball Nicholas Norgard, priced above one of the 10 best golfers of all time in Phil Mickelson. Like, I would rather play all those guys over Michael Block. I think they basically made it so that way Michael Block, who could have been like a fun, like meme type of play at $5,000, is like totally unplayable just because he's not the same caliber player of the guys that he's priced around. All right, that's going to do it for looking at the board, though. I will say, if I'm looking at like a long shot this week, I think Gary Woodland top 20. That might be something I go with. I think that like the chalk DFS play, like a top 20 for that chalk DFS play is a really good play, generally speaking. I think Gary Woodland top 20 is a really good look. All right, let's take a quick breather and then let's talk one and done. All right, so one and done this week is super interesting because you do have access to the LIV guys, right? But what that means is I do think that you're going to see an excessive amount of chalk on the LIV players this week. I think if you have not played John Rahm, I think that he is in play this week. I think that Patrick Reed is probably going to be quite popular this week. But as you can see from my spreadsheet, which you can get access to in the description on both the video and the audio feed, I pegged Bryson DeChambeau as my preliminary selection. I'm probably going to stick with that. And I think Bryson is going to be like the super chalky play this week. Basically, Bryson is a guy that he is very much. Wow, my one and done is not really working. He is very much one of the best players in the world right now, and he is a perfect fit at the American majors. And what I mean by that is the PGA Championship and the US Open, right? And so you're going to want to play Bryson at one of those two, and it just makes so much sense to play him here this week. I think he's a better fit for this course than for Oakmont. I think Oakmont will be a great place to look at if you're looking to use a live guy. I think Oakmont will be a great place to use John Rahm. I think Oakmont will be a great place to use Brooks Koepka. That's probably what I'm planning out right now, is to use Bryson here at this event and to use either Rahm or Koepka at Oakmont, right? Now, in terms of the non-live guys, I think that this is a great Ludwig spot. I continue to bang that drum. I think this is a great Cantlay spot. I really don't think you're going to want to get too creative outside of that, though. Honestly, this is a major championship. This is a week where you're going to want to get your one and done right. I think that if you're looking to play a live guy but get a little creative, I think that Patrick Reed would be the guy you'd want to go with, or Brooks Koepka would be the guy you want to go with. But yeah, I think that Bryson DeChambeau is going to be the most popular one and done pick this week. He's super obvious. He's in good form. I think that it just makes too much sense. And I think that if you are near the top of the leaderboard and you're one and done, I think that you're going to want to play Bryson DeChambeau. And I think if you're chasing, you probably want to look elsewhere, and you probably want to hedge your bet on Bryson winning the US Open and playing him there when everybody plays him here. But I do think if you're near the top of the leaderboard, Bryson is just the easiest, most palatable click and one and done in a long, long time, honestly. But all right, y'all, that's going to do it here for this episode. We went a little bit over our 30-minute deadline, but that's okay. It's the PGA Championship. It's a major. I'm willing to do it for that. We got a lot of names that we talked about, got a lot of data that we talked about as well. If you like what you saw here, please hit the like button on YouTube. Wow, stumble over my words there. That's the early dad lack of sleep in me showing up. So make sure you hit the like button on YouTube. Really helps me out a ton when you guys do that. I cannot stress that enough. If you're listening on audio, you can rate and review. Helps me out a lot. I really do appreciate it. Remember, if you want more from me, follow me on Twitter at Mike's Money Picks. Join the Fantasy Corner Discord and go to the Patreon. Get the article, get the DFS score, get the model top 10, as well as that full write-up on a weekly basis all the way through the rest of the PGA Tour season. And like I said, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and to the audio feed. That way you can be with us for the rest of the PGA Tour season, as well as all of our best ball content coming this summer, and then our college basketball, college football, NFL content coming once the season starts. Now, lastly, I cannot stress this enough. This is a major week. This is a week where we get more traffic to our golf videos than we normally do. So spread the word, tell a friend. If this breakdown helped you out at all, if you found it interesting, tell somebody about it. Help us grow the community. Help us grow this channel. We're closing in on 1,000 subscribers, and I really want to get there. So if you're not subscribed already, please help me out. Help me get to 1,000. And I really do appreciate you guys spreading the word. Like I said, this is a week where we get a little bit more exposure. So hoping to encourage you guys to help me get a little more exposure so that we continue to grow this community, continue to up that subscriber count. But anyway, that's going to do it for this week, y'all. I know some of y'all are probably wondering, hey, Quail Hollow is 90 minutes from your house. Are you going? Honestly, if I didn't just have a kid, I probably would be. But I cannot leave the wife at home with two babies all day long when they've just been born. And one that's just been born and one that's 1.5. And then I'm not bringing a 2-week-old to a golf tournament. So, yeah, I'm kind of boxed in there, so a little bit of disappointment, but hey, I'll be able to watch plenty of it from home. Totally content with that. And really looking forward to this golf tournament. Like I said, I really like Quail Hollow. I really like that my home state, North Carolina, is getting repped. Really looking forward to this event. Hope you guys are as well. And I hope that showed up in the video, that I have a lot of enthusiasm and really looking forward to this golf tournament. Anyway, that's going to do it for this week, guys. Hopefully, we're able to give you guys all the information you need to pick some winners in DFS betting and one and done. Thank you guys for watching and listening to this point. Best of luck to you guys with this PGA Championship this week, and I will see you guys next time.